cage for hours. Please. Kiss me.
Greetings and salutations. This is Cage's Kiss, the ultimate Cage cast, where we discuss each of the National Treasure's cinematic masterpieces and his life. We also try to glean whatever kernels of wisdom we can from his character that week. I am Rusty James, or Adrian.
I am Rusty James, or Linda, but you can call me the Cheese.
I'm confused, and I'm Donnie.
And you're also Rusty James.
No, God, no. I
Yeah,
can't
you
even
are
call him
Rusty
that. I
James.
just keep thinking to call him Rusty Trombone.
It's Matt Dillon. It doesn't really.
Yeah.
So this week, we're still in 1983. We're in a time warp. We're trapped in 1983 because Nicolas Cage did a second feature that year, Francis Ford Coppola's Rumble Fish. Rumble Fish. Sounds like diarrhea.
Pretty much.
Although, we're confident that at least half of a part of Cage's performance was shot before he shot Valley Girl. This one came out second because I guess Coppola was probably hanging out in the editing room for a long time. Like, I gotta get it perfect.
He's just that smart. That's why he should have been leading things. He's just got the brains.
He's got the brains, yeah. Unlike his brother, the motorcycle boy.
Yeah.
So there's less Nicolas Cage in this one than in Valley Girl, for good or for ill, since it's mostly a Matt Dillon, Mickey Rourke kind of thing. But Linda, why don't you give us some background?
Well, last week was Valentine's Day, and I wanted to give Carlos something special, and I was going to give him the...
A rusty trombone?
No, I was going to give him the old Rusty James, but I had a bad case of the Rumble Fish. So,
Last time I had the Rumble Fish, I didn't get off of the throne for a week or so.
See what I did there?
I wish you didn't, but we do.
This was in 1983. The director, Francis Ford Coppola, the writers, we included Francis Ford Coppola, and the writer of the book, S.E. Hinton.
The actual S.E. Hinton.
The actual hooker herself.
Yep.
And
who's not dead.
Who's not dead. I would like to apologize to her right now. They had a budget of an estimated $10 million and only grossed $2,494,480 in the U.S.
That's still too much.
Yeah.
I feel so bad for Coppola in his 80s career. It was so rocky.
That it was. And, Rusty James has said at least 50 times in this goddamn movie, reminding me of that scene from Being John Malkovich, where it's Malkovich.
Or that scene from Outlaw of Gore. Cabot! Cabot has returned, my darling!
Did you say Cabot?
What is that you say?
So,
Rusty
Cabot,
James?
then. Malkovich!
And Nicolas Cage had to audition for The Outsiders and waited 7 hours before finding out he didn't get the role. And so his uncle Francis Ford Coppola asked him to rehearse
Stay golden.
some of the actors for Rumblefish, and he had to read Dillon and Rourke and found out the next day that he got the role of Smokey. To which he said, quote,
Smokey.
That was really high pressure. Here I was, the nephew of the director, without any more under my belt to speak of, and that made the other actors nervous. I felt this pressure to pull it off. When I look back, I think it was one of the better things I've ever done. End quote.
Huh.
And of course...
He was really proud of this, huh?
Yeah.
I mean, he's in it more than he was in as Brad's bud in Fast Times.
That's true.
I mean, he's got lines and stuff. I think this is a really pioneering moment for Nicolas Cage in that I think this is the first movie he was in which he had truly terrible hair.
Oh, you mean you didn't find it sexy, Rusty James?
No, I don't think I especially did, Rusty James.
Yeah, definitely.
I vastly prefer the Valley Girl haircut to this, and even the Best of Times haircut.
I give him credit. He actually tried this time.
He did. It's a little awkward. You got to admit. Just having him around the other actors, and they're all sort of affecting something. You know, like they're into the roles, and
Right.
I feel like he didn't quite slide in there as well as say Matt Dillon as Rusty James. You know.
Oh, I'm sure he slid right in there.
Right to the
James.
top. All right, so I have got a bunch of little trivia thingies about this movie whenever we're ready for them. But have you got more caginess?
Yeah, well, nothing specifically about Cage since it's so close to Valley Girl. There's not much new to cover here. But,
Right.
of course, Francis Ford was attracted to this story because the dynamic of between the two brothers, which reminded him of with his brother August, Nick Cage's dad.
To whom this film is dedicated.
Yeah, to my older brother August Coppola, my first and best teacher. And of course, the motorcycle boy is supposed to resemble Camus in appearance and in behavior.
Yeah, the whole outfit's based on Camus, right down to the cigarette.
Yeah, the dangling cigarette.
Yeah.
And while we're talking about appearances, the Smokin' Deuces jacket that Nick Cage wears is a replica of his father's when he was young because he belonged to a quote-unquote social club. And I don't know. Every time I see Smoking Deuces, I think of steaming shit. So I don't know how cool that is, really. But
It's the
Smoking
sequel to
Deuces
Smoking
and
Aces.
Rusty Trombones.
and Rusty James. And Francis Ford
Alrighty.
says in the commentary that that Nick was very sensitive and bashful during the party scene, but
Oh, gee.
personally, I think it's probably because he's butt-ass naked in front of his cousin, who's Francis Ford's son, who plays Rusty James's cousin in this scene, and he's butt-ass naked in front of his
that part.
uncle. And he ends up putting his dong in front of some girl's face as he slides down in that scene.
Yeah, there's all those boobses and stuff. I keep forgetting about that part just because it's so out of left field.
You blocked it out.
Well, I mean, you did
It's a plot
already
point and all,
answer
but,
this
you know.
earlier with your points. You said that he felt a lot of pressure because of he didn't have much below his belt and he had to pull it out. So
Oh, you
There you
got
go.
it, Rusty
I'm
James.
feeling a little self-conscious. I need some girl's face in front of this just so nobody sees, okay? No.
It's called meth
You'll be doing me a
doctor.
favor. We'll laugh about this later.
I know you're not a doctor, but can you take a look at this?
But I play one on TV.
My last point is at the time, Nick Cage called Matt Dillon an airhead, but he took it back as an
Oh, poor
adult,
Matt
saying
Dillon.
that he's a, quote, damn fine actor, end quote, and that he himself just had some growing up to do since then. I mean, he
Aw.
was like 18, right? So
Yeah,
Also some
yeah,
dumb
but
shit.
yeah, no, he was precisely 18 in this picture.
Yeah.
This is adult Cage, everybody. That's why there's adult material.
And what do you have for us, Adrian?
Oh man, I got so much stuff. Okay, for one thing, you might have noticed early on, there's not a lot of him in this movie, but this movie does include Chris Penn.
The other
The other Penn, although the other Penn, I feel like he's always really held his own. Like, he really stole every scene he was in. He just sort of shows up. It's like, so chicken smoke, doing the cigarette thing, showing up shotcast, like carving like what might have been an epic shiv or something. So this is only Chris Penn's third film. Immediately after this, he starred in Cameron Crowe and Art Lindzen's The Wildlife, which is a semi-sequel to Fast Times at Ridgemont High.
Yeah.
Fun fact there. Okay, we covered Mickey Rourke and his character. His approach to playing the part was basically to be an actor who's tired of playing the part.
So he was doing Brando.
Yeah. Rourke was always kind of like that. He was one of those big method dudes, Like, it's just a pity that, like, he wound up in so many unfortunate roles, like The Pope of Greenwich Village, or films that just tanked.
And becoming a boxer
And, well, what he did to his face is whatever. It's a personal choice, It's just like, I find the greater tragedy in that he wound up in, like, Michael Cimino's Desperate Hours.
I think the greatest tragedy was we didn't get a lot of Tom Waits.
Yes.
We got some Tom Waits anyway. You know, it's like, watch the language. Get off that.
Yeah.
Put some hair on your chest. Tom Waits. We had Diana Scarwood was in this movie. As the junkie girl Cassandra. You may remember Diana Scarwood around this time, shortly before, she appeared in Mommy Dearest, the infamous Mommy Dearest, as grown-up daughter Christina.
Yes.
With lines like, "Why did you adopt me? I want to know." Always loved Diana Scarwood. She's a treasure. Larry Fishburne is in this movie. Young Larry Fishburne, who'd previously been in Coppola's Apocalypse Now. Which he was only 16 at the time, by the way.
Miss Diane Lane.
And yep. And Larry Fishburne, right before this, had actually appeared as Cutter, the gang member in Death Wish 2. It's a mute performance. I don't know if you've seen Death Wish 2, but the gang members just sort of do a lot of rape and murder in that one.
Well, that is their agenda.
It's not like Death Wish 3 where it's all grand chaos and it's en masse, like making war on a neighborhood. They just mostly make war on Bronson's daughter in that one.
Well, to be fair, in part 3, they were all creeps, if I recall.
Yeah.
Wait, you mean they weren't, like, freeing any animals?
No. They didn't put the fish in the river, I'm afraid.
Huh.
This movie also has William Smith playing the cop there, always in the sunglasses. William Smith, in the 60s and 70s, actually did a long stint of his career playing villains in biker movies.
Not to be confused with Will Smith.
Right, you know, this is William Smith. This is the really grizzled sounding one with the acne scars. He also appeared with Gary Busey as the villain in Eye of the Tiger, where he also is leading a villainous biker gang army. And he did another thing where he's playing a guy hunting his vampire father. William Smith really gets around. Like, he's a really great character actor. Before this, Matt Dillon appeared in the movie Tex, which was a Disney adaptation of S.E. Hinton, before Coppola did his S.E. Hinton adaptations. And I looked up S.E. Hinton, and in addition to writing the 5 novels that she wrote ever, she also writes a lot of fan fiction, apparently.
Oh.
Slash fic.
Yeah, I'll bet, yeah.
Wait, is she E.L. James or...
Man, the truth comes out. Yeah, you just rearrange the letters and you don't get the same name, but that's okay. So Coppola was doing The Outsiders, and he decided to make Rumblefish his reward for doing The Outsiders. The studio wasn't on board with it, but like on breaks during filming it at night, he and Hinton would write the screenplay.
It's like a little scoop of ice cream for himself.
So they were both shot in Tulsa. They were both shot in Tulsa, and he just like moved most of the cast and crew over, and like you had to struggle to find funding and all that. The photography for this was by a Stephen H. Burrum, who shot De Palma's Mission Impossible in '96. Good moment for him. As well as The Untouchables. And he also shot, which I think is one of the ugliest and most lifeless movies ever made, Frank Rodham's The Bride with Sting and Jennifer Beals.
Good call.
Linda may remember that from when we watched it together on pay-per-view.
Oh, yeah.
You paid for that.
No. It was one of the free ones on pay-per-view, which are almost inevitably like something that was also riffed on Mystery Science Theater 3000 or A Sharp Stick in the Eye.
And we did a lot of experimentation back in college.
You might call it that. At a screening of Rumblefish, Robert Evans was present. Robert Evans, who produced The Godfather and later produced The Cotton Club. And Robert Evans did not react well to this movie. He said that this movie was, quote, so far from Hollywood that it scared me. And that he did not understand it.
Makes sense.
Yeah, I can't really blame him, necessarily, frankly, because there's some of the choices here that don't sit too well. I mean, for me, to turn it into the competent version of what it was supposed to be, it really wouldn't take too much. I mean, you might take away people calling Rusty James at every turn.
What are you talking about, Rusty James?
but I can live with that, Rusty James, because it's S.E. Hinton, and people expect that sort of level of like odd affectation, like Stay Gold, Pony Boy, and Hey Soda Jerk. So why don't I just start us going by talking about what my big problem was.
What was your big problem, Rusty James?
Okay, Rusty James. What my big problem with Rumblefish largely is so Coppola wanted a percussive soundtrack to symbolize time running out. In the movie, there's all these shots of clocks and stuff like that, right?
Right.
And like, he like, I think he like put in a substitute track or something, and then he like brought on Stuart Copeland, who was the drummer for the Police, and he's like, hey, how about some percussive yada yada, and I think it was just a consult at first. And then he's like, oh wait, this Stuart Copeland guy knows his stuff. I'll have him do the score.
I think he referred to himself as an arithmetist.
Oh God! Oh God. See, listen to Stuart Copeland's score to Rumblefish, then listen to Sting's solo material, and you realize, well, the problem with the Police and the reason a lot of their material was less accessible, it's not Sting, it's Stuart Copeland. He fucked up that band.
Hmm.
You got right from the opening, you got that.
Right.
What the hell is that? That's not music. That's your tape player got stuck. You held down, stop and play at the same time.
Oh, you're sounding a lot like Jackie Mason in Best of Times.
Yeah, when you get to my age, that's the best part with the silence. Oh. No, this is a lot like my old man bitching about like modern techno and shit like that. But like, okay, so it's not unprecedented to get a pop act, or a rock and roll, person to do a musical score for a film. In fact, a lot of that was going on at the time. In 1980, Queen did the score to Mike Hodges' Flash Gordon, which we all know and love. In 1984, Toto did the score to David Lynch's Dune. And for Death Wish 2 that I mentioned earlier, that score was by Jimmy Page, and it's some of the best shit he ever did.
True.
So, what the fuck, Stuart Copeland?
From
all of us.
And again, you had Tom Waits on hand. You could have asked a small favor, but nah. I mean, he was already cooler.
He'd actually worked with Tom Waits before.
Yeah, right? Yeah.
Well, in 82, Coppola did One from the Heart, and I'm pretty sure that score was by Tom Waits.
I think so.
And One from the Heart was also a gigantic bomb, right? Because he recreated Las Vegas on sound stages, and it's amazing. It's an incredible spectacle, that movie. Like, they got Vittorio Storaro shot it.
The financial end for what's it called?
Zoetrope,
yeah, Zoetrope.
Well, I mean, Apocalypse Now we know did not do super well in the box office because it was very expensive for its day. $40 million was a lot of money for '79, and I think One from the Heart had a comparable budget. It was very large, and it's a wonderful effort. Like you can't really stay mad at it just because what they're trying to do. Coppola was always over ambitious, but in that one, it's kind of like this actually makes sense for him to do this. Like, it was clearly a misstep financially, but I don't mind the takeaway. I like what I got out of it.
He was just waiting for that Godfather.
Yeah, well, I mean, he admits, I saw an interview with him once where he was talking about how Godfather Part 3, he's like, yeah, that was completely and totally for money. I needed the money.
Yeah.
Cause he went into such a slump. The Outsiders actually made money.
Right.
And so it seemed like he might have been back on track, but then Rumblefish came out and it tanked, and we can tell why it tanked. It's like, it's not like One for the Heart where it was like a grand experiment. It's clearly misguided.
It's not even a movie, just an experience.
Yeah, well, there's another thing I read. Well, okay, for one thing, for those of you who are never going to watch it, it's in black and white. And there's nothing wrong with that. Woody Allen made Manhattan in black and white in '79, and that's gorgeous.
Except for certain scenes or
aspects. So there's the Rumblefish. There are fish in it. There that shows like Siamese fighting fish in the tanks, and the fish are always in color. And this was achieved very simply, by the way. There was no post processing done. They simply had black and white footage of the actors looking at the fish, and then they rear screen projected it on a fish tank, which they shot in color.
Which you cannot tell at all because them looking directly at the fish, so the fish are completely the opposite direction of them, is seamless.
And
I think I like the fact that their solution was that cute and simplistic, though. You know.
yeah.
Yeah.
Although I will say this is like, make your fucking movie in black and white if you're gonna make it in black and white. Don't be goddamn Spielberg.
Right.
Fucking Sin City and all this shit.
Well,
like, oh, but one thing's in color. It's
Francis
cute.
Ford Coppola referred to it as a, quote, art film for teenagers, end quote.
Except he took a young adult book from 1975 and made an R-rated movie out of it.
Yeah, which again bothered the fuck out of me. It's the way they're talking. It's like 1950s style gangs in 1980s talking to each other.
There's a problem there, though. Like, that's S.E. Hinton in a nutshell.
Yeah.
You know what year she wrote The Outsiders? It was 1967. That was out of date. It was
Just
completely out of date. Like, what the fuck was that? It's like, you think of S.E. Hinton and the shit like occupies this weird West Side Story type universe that doesn't quite exist. It's like this whole fictional gangland.
I gotta admit, every time I started hearing the music getting just a little bit louder and tapping, I sincerely thought there was gonna be a musical number that would pop up at any moment.
Oh my god,
You know-
I think that would be better.
Well, well, I mean, we're talking about the fact that it doesn't come off naturalistic, and we know that. So,
Right.
like, I think more artifice is the answer. I feel like, you know what the rebuttal to Rumblefish is? It's Walter Hill's The Warriors.
Exactly.
Because Walter Hill's The Warriors, it's like, it's in color and it's gorgeous. The soundtrack is fucking dynamite. You got like the best synth soundtrack of any movie ever on that
Yes.
thing.
Right.
Yes.
You know, the characterization is natural. It's spare, you know, like, and nothing slows down the action. Nothing grinds that movie to a halt. And it's still gritty and it's still violent. And even though it doesn't occupy the real world, you're like, holy fuck, gangs, you know?
Yeah, it's like an actual living comic book without being Sin City type overly saturated black and white art shit.
No, it's just like gushing all the shit in all these different directions, and there's no apology in there. You know, there's a weird moment of clarity.
Mickey Rourke.
Yes. I think that's just
Oh,
what
Mickey
kind of
Rourke.
bothered me. It's like watching this, and it's like you can tell that Mickey Rourke is doing his best Brando and On the Waterfront, and Matt Dillon is doing his best Warriors impersonation before this, and it just feels so out of place. Like they're all trying something, but
Everybody's
horribly.
trying different stuff. Yeah.
Yeah,
Well, it's very oil and water. Everything about
Yeah.
the movie's oil and water. And I don't think Rourke did a wonderful job, I think, but I don't think it served him very well how they did that weird audio thing around him.
Yeah.
Cause like we get the explanation for it being a black and white movie that he's colorblind, and explains he's also partly deaf. And so they do this audio thing whenever he speaks, his voice, you know, is like the only thing you hear, very quiet, and all the other audio goes down. And it's very jarring.
Apparently some of the audio crew referred to it as mumblefish.
That makes total sense. Yeah, no, I can't. You know, it makes me sad because, you know, like Coppola has done so many wonderful things at so many different times. You know, like he's been uneven, obviously. I mean,
yeah.
But like he had a flight of inspiration. And it took him in entirely the wrong direction. One of the things I read is that you have all those god awful fast motion shots of like the Tulsa skyline and of the clouds moving.
Oh yeah.
And apparently he was inspired by Kiana Scotzi, which is a really dumb thing to get inspired by if you're making a goddamn teenage gang movie. Well, like I have a little mini thesis I got on this. I don't know. Obviously, I have a lot to say about it. So he had that bit about the percussive soundtrack, and he wanted the time theme. You got them by the truck with a giant clock face on it, where William Smith like squares off against him and all that. And it's like, and so this awful clicky soundtrack, like, and these fast motion Keanu Scotzi shots are supposed to show us the time's running down, you know? So, like, but we know that Coppola is a student of film also, and he's seen a shitload of those old classic films. It's like, you ever hear of Fred Zinnemann? How about High Noon or Day of the Jackal? Those are both movies that are about that exact thing. It's about time running out. It's about counting down to one specific event. And those movies use music very minimally, very sparingly. And they're also all full of static shots. Yet they achieve it. You know what I'm saying? You don't feel like you're just sitting there because you know something's coming. There's the feeling of foreboding. You don't have to go into fast forward to remind us the time's passing.
Yeah, it's kind of like making an ode to films, student films, like going back and going, this is the shit I used to do.
It's a complete wrong-headed, like hooking up the camcorder to the TV and filming the TV and like, look, it goes on forever. It's like a mirror.
Well, he actually admits in the commentary, because he talks about when he was 17, he put on a student play. I can't remember what it was. I think it was Streetcar Named Desire, and he did it in black and white, but he would switch between color and black and white. And anyway, he was saying that was really, a pretentious 17-year-old thing to do. And he said, maybe this movie is pretentious of me too.
Yeah.
I'm glad he was open to the possibility that he may have been pretentious.
I can't help but like him because he's so goddamn humble about everything.
I don't hate Coppola, even though he's made some shit and pissed me off at times. Like, I don't hate Coppola because, he made The Conversation, he made the 1992 Dracula, which I love. I mean, like, there's a lot to love about Coppola. He worked with Roger Corman, like he's from that crew. And I feel like on a lot of levels, like he understands like what his own limitations are, Cause I got the feeling actually the second time I went through Rumblefish, that he wanted to capture like some of that crazy energy that was like in a film like Taxi Driver.
Oh yeah.
But I think he also understands that he's no Scorsese, in terms of that. And I'm not really making a judgment on value. I'm just saying like what they do is different.
Yeah.
Cause when, like Godfather Part 2, right? This is the same interview I watched. For Godfather Part 2, Coppola did not want to direct it. He wanted to write and produce.
Yeah.
And he wanted to get another guy to direct. And the studio came to him and he says, so who do you want to direct this movie? And he said, Martin Scorsese. And at that time, he'd just done Boxcar Bertha and Mean Streets, and the studio was like, fuck no. My God, fuck that guy. Fucking cheap-ass trash driving shit. We're not hiring that guy. Coppola's like, but he's awesome. And the studio's like, no, he's not. No. Fuck you. You direct it. It's like, oh, fine. Jesus. Direct your movie, you piece of shit.
I feel like
goddamn Oscar.
One reason that this may have gone wrong in any sense is because it was a passion project for him, and I find that most flops are passion projects.
It can be a kiss of death because they get too close to it. Like, because Apocalypse Now really wasn't meant to be the bloated thing that it was. Which is sort of why it became what it was, like, and still became something good, because Coppola originally was like, yeah, we'll do like an outdoors kind of adventure movie, We'll get that John Milius guy to adapt a story. It'll be fine.
Yeah.
It turned into that sort of like as a comedy of errors, but was still good. Whereas this, they're like, it's going to be brilliant.
And also, just for the record, Dennis Hopper was also in Apocalypse Now.
Dennis Hopper.
Dennis Hopper.
He's always great. He's always great. And he really steals the show here.
Yeah.
Interesting point about Hopper though, is that he's playing an alcoholic in this one, and that's not really acting.
Yeah, I was gonna say.
Cause no, his shit was coming to a head. His situation was coming to a head with the alcoholism and the drugs. Like, this is actually where it erupted. Cause this was 83. The movie was released in 84, but I think it was shooting during 83, later in the same year. There was a movie called Jungle Warriors. It's complete garbage, by the way. It's got Sybil Danning. It's like a bunch of models and photographers in the jungle, like square off against drug dealers. Like, the movie's complete bullshit, right? But Hopper was originally cast in it as the photographer, right? They were in South America. And, Dennis Hopper, I think it was in the DTs. I think he was suffering the DTs. He was in the hotel and he's starting to hallucinate monsters.
Jesus.
And I saw an interview with him about this, and it's like, for some reason it occurred to me that if I'm naked, they can't kill me.
Makes sense.
Man? So, they found him 3 days later naked in the jungle.
Funny story. he was actually filming as King Koopa at the time.
Oh God, poor Dennis Hopper.
wish.
No, but the worst part is that Dennis Hopper was fired from the movie and replaced by Marjo Gortner from Star Crash and Earthquake.
The movie you're describing sounds exactly like Hard Ticket to Hawaii, almost.
Oh man, Andy Sedaris, holy crap.
You can't say anything terrible about him that hasn't been said already.
No, I can't. There's nothing more to add, dude. I will say this, I did see Malibu Express and that other thing he did about spies in Texas where Julie Strain wears the chain bra. And I don't remember what that was called.
Oh, God.
Why aren't we
Wasn't it
talking
just
about
called
that
Julie-
movie?
Like, what the fuck's her name?
Chain bra.
Chain bra?
Julie Strain wears the chain
There
bra,
you go,
Rusty
Julie
James.
Strain. Shit, I haven't thought about Julie Strain in a long time.
She
Wasn't
married
Let us
Kevin
know if
Eastman.
you're still alive.
Yeah. Yeah, check in,
Apparently
man.
my coworker Nathan met Julie Strain and Kevin Eastman at a Comic-Con.
Wasn't she in Heavy Metal too?
Yeah, because Kevin Eastman, her husband, was the one responsible for
That's
Heavy Metal
right.
2000. And it's sort of a loose adaptation of his comic Melting Pot, which looks a lot better than that movie does. Yeah.
I can't disagree with that.
Yeah.
I'm not going to rant. Go ahead.
Oh, no, sorry, keep going.
No, I really don't want to go on a rant about this. I'm just going to mention the only thing, oddly enough, that came to mind with this movie was another film that was really lesser known as far as the actors involved and the director, but still is just as deep, surprisingly, is Joe versus the Volcano.
Oh shit!
It's like,
Hells
there is
yeah, Joe
so
versus the
much
Volcano.
symbolism in that movie and a lot more shit going on in there, but it's still one of those romantic comedies, quotation marks, but still it's so far removed from that. It's just kind of, you don't know what the hell to make of it, but you still can find something enjoyable in it. But still, it's like everywhere you look, there's some symbolism being repeated at all points during the film.
With Tom Hanks playing Rusty James.
But no.
Well, Joe versus the Volcano has the sort of dubious distinction by being a movie directed by a screenwriter, which can go fine or it can go horribly.
Yeah.
And Joe versus the Volcano does sort of display like both ways it can go, in that it's a distinct film. You'll remember it, and you may only remember it because there's a weird sort of cantilever narrative thing going on with it. And there's the bit with with Meg Ryan playing 3 different parts or something like that.
Yes.
Yeah.
We'll have to save all the details for our Hanks cast.
Oh,
Ooh,
Hanks, give us
we
a
could do
call.
all those one-word comedies he used to do, like Big or Volunteers or Philadelphia.
Oh, let's talk about the comedy that is Philadelphia.
Oh my god, would we be the Bosom Buddies?
Careful, somebody out there's taking
Mr.
notes.
Furley.
Everybody
Mr.
prefers to be Mr. Furley.
Yes.
So Cage had what, like 3.5 scenes in Rumblefish?
Yeah.
And one of them included
He
his
talks in
bare
all
ass.
of them. Matt Dillon's all like, you invited me to that orgy and it's just so you could tell my girlfriend about it and steal my girlfriend. And Cage is like, yeah, pretty much.
Like,
and then Rusty James is all like, I guess I'm dumb. And Nicolas Cage is like, yeah, Rusty
yes,
James,
you
you
are
are stupid. You are a fool.
Can we also talk about the wonderful near-death vision he had and just lighting up a ghost cigarette while going and celebrating his death?
What do you do?
He floats out of his ghost self on the streets, and I swear to, suddenly had a Michael Jackson outfit on, and
Because he's bad.
to Rusty James, a really cool dude. He got his girlfriend there. What's her name? Weeping
you know
over
the
him.
only one for me, babe.
Patty?
Yeah.
Patty
Yeah.
Which was still creepy that both her and her younger sister were pining over him.
Oh, you mean...
Because everybody wanted Rusty James's rusty trombone.
Yeah.
So it was featuring Sofia Coppola as Denny. I mean, I like to watch.
Oh shit, that was Sofia Coppola in '83.
Yeah.
Okay, so she aged into herself. She did look better when it came to Godfather Part 3.
Two's a party, Sophia, but three's a crowd.
Yeah.
Can we also bring to light the efficientness of the police department that if you steal fish, your ass is getting shot?
Yeah, what the
William
fuck,
Smith is
man?
going to be right the fuck on deck to blow you away.
Yeah, it's like, I am just
They all
give me
came
an
out. The whole
excuse.
town came out. Like, that was Tulsa, like in a nutshell.
Yeah. It's like, he really loved those fucking fish.
They really, Coppola's like, I don't want them to miss the tragic, dramatic conclusion. Let's really oversell it.
And I love Nick Cage's line in there. It's something like, well, I didn't do it.
Cage was trolling this movie. I swear, he just showed up. It's like, hey, maybe don't go to the Rumble, pussy. You know, it's like, well, fine, I guess I will go. You know, by the way, I stole your girlfriend. Bye.
Mr. Steal your girl.
And I put my dick in her face. Goodbye.
Hey, what about Vincent Spano in the glasses there trying to be James Spader?
Oh.
Yeah, I thought that too.
You tell him. You tell him.
Oh
Right?
my god.
Don't knock people off the sidewalk, Rusty James.
That's what this movie needed, was some Spader.
I swear to God, Vitamin Spader could have fixed the whole thing.
Oh, God, yeah.
They could have turned it into Mannequin.
A mannequin prequel.
Hells yeah. Well, you know, I think it was I think it was '84 when Spader starred in Tough Turp with Sir Robert Downey Jr.
Yeah.
Yeah, that is an awesome movie. Unlike this one.
I wish there was a Chud connection, but no.
There's always. Well,
here's a
actually,
Chud connection.
I got a Chud connection for you. Actually, so Rourke had done a couple of movies by this point, but one of the major ones he'd done before this was Diner. And Diner launched a number of careers, for good or for ill, one of which was Steve Guttenberg, and other of which was Daniel Stern. Daniel Stern was also in Diner. Daniel Stern, who got to star in and rewrite the screenplay for Chud. Now we know what Chud stands for.
Also
Cannibalistic
known
my
as-
ass. Contamination hazard urban disposal. You're welcome.
Also known as the Wet Bandit. But,
I love
also,
Daniel Stern.
We have a connection with Chuds because I believe that we and all three of our listeners are caged hearts united by a dream, making us Chuds. Or you could say we're cage heads all as one word, cage heads united by the national treasure, making us cunts. I mean, it's all up to you, I guess.
I made my Chud connection back in November when I went to New York and rode the subway.
There you go. I legitimately thought you were going to say Mickey Rourke played Bud the Chud, but it still works.
Yeah, you know, he could have done that. He's that versatile. And if he'd done it in the 90s, he wouldn't need any makeup.
That's true.
Ew.
Please don't hurt us, Mr. Rourke.
Anyway,
We really
won an
love and
Oscar.
respect you. Much like Sean Penn.
If you're still alive, call us. We care.
Yeah.
Yes, we care.
Uh,
How do you guys feel this could have been improved other than what we've already discussed?
well, I mean, like, you know, not for the lulz, but for reals. Like, you know, Coppola did all his movies in the 70s. He worked with guys like Gordon Willis and Vittorio Storaro and his dad Carmine.
Mm-hmm.
Couldn't he have just called him up and been like, hey, work on my movie?
You know, he actually kind of talked about that in the commentary where he was saying that he didn't feel like he could call up Robert De Niro or Pacino because he said he felt like he was in a naive part of his career then, and he hadn't cultivated those relationships where he could feel comfortable saying like, hey, can you help me out here? But then again, music wise, it's his goddamn dad. So I mean, you would think he'd be okay with saying, "Hey, you want a job?"
Yeah, it already worked for him before. It's just like, dude, Carmine Coppola would have put out such a better score.
Oh yeah.
My God, like that synth shit from Apocalypse Now. I just listened to that on purpose. Like, yeah. Fuck you, Stuart Copeland.
Matt
Dillon did pretty good considering, but
no, his performance wasn't the problem. Yeah.
No.
I still really would have. It might be really weird, but because of the time, it kind of makes sense. Maybe even Kevin Bacon could have done something in this. Because if I think at the time he was doing, God, what was it? The first Friday the 13th, or did that already happen?
That was 80.
Yeah.
But Kevin Bacon might have been a good choice. Maybe even for the Cage role.
That's true.
I could totally believe Kevin Bacon would steal someone's girlfriend.
And he totally would be comfortable with, look at my dick. Look at my Baconator.
And we would.
Shows up with the arrow through his neck. You got work for me.
Well, I personally, of course, would rather see Madeline Kahn in the role of Smokey.
I thought you were going to say is Rusty.
I think they should have expanded the Chris Penn role. Like no joke. Like Chris Penn, man, all the way. Like when he shows up at the end, it's like, no, the motorcycle boy. It's like, holy fuck, Chris Penn. He returns.
And at the end, he's like the Lisa character in The Room, where all of a sudden he's like, no, actually, I guess he's more like Denny.
Yeah.
He's like, you stay away from him, you bastard. It's true. Everybody betrayed him.
They did.
They stole away his sweet prince.
Did anybody else get kind of a Tyler Durden vibe? Like, anybody else feel like maybe like Rusty James was just imagining the motorcycle boy?
Yeah, and
honestly,
I wanted to talk about that because like William Smith never talks directly to the motorcycle boy.
Right, and the motorcycle boy's never looking at anybody anyway.
Yeah, and it seems like even their dad, Dennis Hopper,
and Dennis Hopper's referring to him as if he isn't there.
Exactly.
It's like, well, your brother, he's miscast in a play.
Yeah.
Connection.
Those scenes, and he's always like following kind of behind, and they got the wind machine going. I mean, the whole movie has a hallucinatory look, right? Because they always have the fog machines or the smoke machines going, whether it's day or night.
The subtle fog machine.
And it's unsubtle, but it's some of those what's fucked up is that Coppola had all these aspirations. He was like studying like Murnau movies and all these silent films and stuff and German expressionism, and you can see some of it in the film. The trouble is that it gets lost in between mismatch of Chiana-Scozzi type shit.
Yeah.
It's inconsistent, and he really should have just doubled down on one aesthetic. Like that night scene where they have the rumble, the only rumble in the picture where the blonde guy in the sunglasses wants to kill Rusty James.
Yeah.
Like some of that looks great, it almost looks like Tetsuo the Iron Man or some shit,
Yeah.
And you get the bit where Mickey Rourke kills the guy with his motorcycle. He launches his motorcycle at him, and then for a second there's actually editing. And there's like this montage of shots, and you get the close up of his face before the motorcycle flips over and crushes him.
Yeah.
And it looks like Billy Joe from Green Day is getting killed. And I was like, fuck yeah!
It makes him flip up into the air.
He flips in the air, and it's like, holy shit! And you think maybe the movie has potential, and it's such a tease.
Right? Yeah, I mean, starting off that way, I was like, fuck yeah, let's do this.
Yeah, no, it's like he hired a choreographer for that, and you got that under the bridge setting, and they got that platform there, and it kind of looks like parts of Orson Welles' The Trial, It's like, dude, like, keep your silent film aesthetic. Make that happen. I really seriously considered, like, recutting this movie with, like, silent film title cards and just adding the grain and cutting out the fast motion.
Well, going back to the Tyler Durden thought, maybe it's just that he was trying to set him aside as this sort of idyllic, ethereal hero that
Right, yeah.
Rusty James will never reach.
I mean, there's something in that, right? You know, like where he thinks he's built his life, you know, to model it after this other person, you know, who's reached heroic status, not only for himself, but for others, you know, and nothing's really the way he thinks it is. And he thinks he's like this talented, like, gang leader, but he's kind of an idiot.
He's less of a person at that point and more of a legend, I guess, just like a thought. And
I mean, he's that hoe over there, yeah.
But at the end, like, nobody acknowledges Rusty James walking through either. So, I mean, you might be honest.
Yeah, maybe he, you know, followed the river to the ocean and became mythical too, you know, but. But like, but that aspect of the story, like the relationship and the misconception, like that's something that I identified with, you know, it's like nostalgiaing for times that didn't happen, you know, longing for things that you can't get, you know, like there's some meat there, and it's just totally, it didn't really have anything. Yeah, no, it didn't have anything to work with, you know.
Well, I feel like, you know, there is like there's a lot tragedy to build upon that. It could have been amazing. I see what he was trying to go for, but it just didn't quite get there.
Well, he got really big in his head. I think that's the problem. I think that's what resulted in him not making choices. You know, like we talk about the oil and water aspects. Like he had all the big ideas and didn't want to choose.
Yeah, and it's kind of I'm gonna make up my own version of the saying, but it's kind of like being in an insane world. An insane man is sane. It's like everyone seemed to be really trying to make an art film and giving an artsy performance. Right. And Nick Cage comes out being the only one who's like actually coming out as a good actor.
I think that's probably why he's so out of place in the movie. It's like he's the only one who's not, there's no affectation.
Trying. Yeah, he was trying instead of caging it up, and it actually came out really nice.
Which is weird.
It is, but it's like
really effing weird.
Unlike the other shit we've watched, I enjoyed this a little bit more, but it's mostly because of Nick Cage and his whole fucking rusty trombone trying to give him leadership.
I mean, he does troll Rusty James, and Rusty James did need trolling. You know, well, also, like, this is, the other things that we tackled, we did a TV pilot and 2 movies.
Right.
Yeah. You know, like, whereas this time we're tackling a film. It's not a successful film, but it is a film. You know, as opposed to a movie. Which I guess is why there's more to talk about as opposed to just, like, sex jokes.
But
Although it was in there, you know.
With all that considered, I do believe that I would have rather have seen Madeline Kahn, Oprah, Angela Lansbury, or Lily Tomlin take on his role, just to hear them get all Machiavellian and say, "Oh, and I fucked your girlfriend."
You know, if this movie had been a box office success, we would have a remake of it now with an all-female cast.
It could happen.
For it.
And Melissa McCarthy as Rusty James.
Please no. please no.
Hey, I'm here for it.
No.
This is kind of tragic too, where that Coppola went on attack of recouping his career by making small, more modest films, because $10 million isn't too huge, you know, even in 1983, and he even fucked that up. Like, it's not a 3-hour epic or anything. The movie's only like 90 minutes, you know.
I think you guys are right that he did pull out a great performance in this, and Nick Cage, and he didn't. I think that the problem is he tries to get too artistic with his other roles, and he gets too method. And not to say that, you know, Randy was bad in Valley Girl. I enjoyed Randy just fine.
The performance is fine, yeah.
Yeah, but you know, I really enjoyed his performance as Smokey.
Yeah.
And I enjoyed Chris Penn blowing smoke in his face.
And that.
I just enjoy Smokey and the Bandit.
God, yeah.
Hells yeah.
Who could have done it better? Burt Reynolds.
Oh, man.
Hey, you want to rumble?
You know, I get a feeling when I get older, I'm going to look a lot like him. When you get older? Yeah, that's my older brother right there, making work. Yeah.
I would.
Sally Field, you're the only one for me. Yeah.
I would remake this movie with Burt Reynolds in all of the roles. Every single.
Hells yeah! Hal Needham's Burt Reynolds is
little-
Rumblefish. Oh man,
You
Burt
can
Reynolds,
weekend at
if you can
Bernie's
hear
it if
us,
you
we
want.
still love you.
Let's just
You
dig
know,
his corpse out and make a Weekend at Bernie's-esque Rumblefish.
In all seriousness, I'd like to say that it really wasn't Rusty James's fault that he got expelled from school. I mean, what can you do when a sultry bitch just keeps appearing on the bookshelf when you're in class, pulling up her skirt?
That's
We've all been there, right?
Right? Yeah. No. Just like, hey down there, you one of these textbooks I got up here? I'm gonna have to reach for this one over here. Oh, it got stuck.
I do remember, Linda, you said you had been shot in the leg while you were at a Petco and you were just looking at beta fish, so, I mean, it
That
does
was
happen.
all the goddamn time.
Yeah.
But I'll tell you what. Do you guys have any cagey wisdom this week? What do you feel like we can learn from Cage?
Here's one. If you contrive to plot against and steal the girlfriend of your friend, just explain it to him, and everything will be cool.
And I would say that if you know what you want, then go after it. But after you come up with a good, solid plan. Oh, God damn it, Tony.
I'm trying to give you a beat.
oh shit. Chili's baby back ribs right now.
Oh.
It's a musical score, really.
I'm a rhythmist, you motherfuckers.
I'm a
Mississippi Queen! Oh man, I need a comb and a bottle to blow into right now.
Bringing it back to best of times.
That's the best part right there.
Right there.
I guess we've kind of covered this as best we can.
Yeah,
Well,
I mean,
do you have any knowledge that you want to drop?
yeah, drop that bomb.
Well, I
Drop that.
don't
Smokey
have
juice.
any STDs, so that's good. That's a good
Oh,
bomb.
that kind of knowledge.
I meant gleaned from Smokey.
Soy bomb? Oh. Just that I think everyone was trying to be as cool as Tom Waits, but wasn't, because you can't just naturally be Tom Waits. He just kind of is.
Watch your language. Get down off that.
I
Yeah.
think that's the best lesson we've had so far.
Get down off that, everybody.
All right. Well, then I guess it's time to say, please listen, subscribe, and review to Cage's Kiss on iTunes or Apple Podcasts, whatever they're calling themselves these days, SoundCloud, Stitcher, and Spotify. We're just starting out, and we could really, really use your help with this. So please, if you liked it, subscribe. If you didn't like it,
Subscribe anyway. And like us on Facebook.
Yes, you can find us on Facebook and Twitter at Cage's Kiss. Of course, without the apostrophe, it's CAGESKISS. You can also visit our website at cageskiss.com, once again, without that apostrophe. And you can write us at cageskiss@gmail.com.
Yeah.
Johnny, you have any plugs?
Yeah.
God damn it. You son of a bitch.
You can find me on Twitter, though you really shouldn't, under the handle Unreal Goals, but please, again, don't. I already have 7 more people following me. I really wish you wouldn't. Otherwise, I am not selling anything except my kidneys. Please, I need the money.
Speaking of money, you can find me under Leo the Fox on deviantart.com. Commissions are open. I can do your record cover for you, or your poster, or whatever the hell you want to pay me for. Give me your money. And also, I'm on YouTube under A.A. Smith, in which I complain about books that you haven't read.
Fantastic.
It is.
So, we will be seeing you next week with Racing with the Moon with the other Penn, Sean.
Ooh.
And yes, ooh, indeed, Rusty James. And please remember that, well, even the most primitive society has an innate respect for the insane.
Yeah, so respect us.
This is your kiss-off, motherfucking Donnie. God damn it.
Yes, get off.
We'll see you chuds next week, huh?
Give us money.
All right. I think that's a wrap.
Cage, 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 Peach. I could eat a peach for hours. Please.